It's 2025, a year that marks a significant milestone in China's journey towards becoming a global superpower. The landscape of the country has transformed dramatically over the past few decades, reflecting its rapid development and modernization. China is at a very important point in its history. The skyline of cities like Shanghai and Beijing now rivals those of New York and London, showcasing the country's economic prowess and architectural innovation. The country is dealing with a lot of pressure, both from inside and outside. The economy is uncertain, markets fluctuate, and businesses face challenges that test their resilience. The bustling street markets and high-paced corporate offices are a testament to the dynamic and sometimes volatile nature of China's economy. There are tensions with other countries. Diplomatic relations are strained and military standoffs are not uncommon. Protests within the country reflect the people's demand for change and better governance. The competition with the United States over technology is getting stronger. Factories are buzzing with activity as China pushes the boundaries of innovation, striving to outpace its rivals in the tech industry. The trade war with the US has only intensified this race, making technological advancement a national priority. All of these things together make for a complicated and quickly changing situation. The global news cycle is filled with stories about China's economic policies, technological breakthroughs, and geopolitical maneuvers, reflecting the country's significant impact on the world stage. If you want to understand what's happening in the world today, you need to understand what's happening in China. The country's actions and decisions reverberate across the globe, influencing international markets, political alliances, and even cultural trends. China's rise to becoming a world power has been amazing. From a largely agrarian society to an industrial and technological giant, the transformation has been nothing short of extraordinary. The rapid urbanization and economic growth have lifted millions out of poverty and created a burgeoning middle class. Its economy has grown so much that millions of people are no longer poor. Families now enjoy a higher standard of living with access to better education, healthcare, and consumer goods. The bustling shopping malls and modern schools are symbols of this newfound prosperity. Its military has become much stronger, changing the balance of power in Asia. The People's Liberation Army is now one of the most formidable forces in the world, with advanced technology and a growing presence in international waters. And its diplomacy has increased its influence all over the world. Through initiatives like the Belt and Road, China has forged new alliances and expanded its reach, becoming a key player in global politics and economics. But this hasn't been easy. The path to becoming a global superpower is fraught with challenges. Internal issues such as corruption, environmental degradation, and social inequality continue to pose significant hurdles. China's leaders have tough decisions to make, balancing economic growth with social stability, addressing environmental concerns while maintaining industrial output, and navigating complex international relations require astute leadership and strategic planning. They need to keep the economy growing while also taking care of problems at home. The disparity between urban and rural areas, the need for sustainable development, and the pressure to innovate are all part of the intricate puzzle that China's leaders must solve. Balancing what people in China need with what China wants to do in the world requires careful planning and smart decisions. The aspirations of the Chinese people and the ambitions of the nation must be aligned to ensure a harmonious and prosperous future. The choices made in China's capital, Beijing, will affect everyone, not just people in China. As the country continues to rise, its influence will shape the future of global politics, economics, and culture. Understanding China's journey is crucial to understanding the world we live in today. China's economy, which used to grow very quickly, is slowing down. For decades, China was the poster child for rapid economic expansion, with double-digit growth rates that seemed unstoppable. Cities expanded, infrastructure projects boomed, and the standard of living for many Chinese citizens improved dramatically. However, this era of breakneck growth is now a thing of the past. The country is facing a new economic reality, one that requires a different set of strategies and policies to navigate successfully. The days of super-fast growth are over. The Chinese government is now grappling with the challenge of maintaining a stable and sustainable growth rate. This shift is not just a minor adjustment, it represents a fundamental change in how the economy operates. The focus is moving from sheer speed to quality and sustainability. This means addressing issues like environmental degradation, income inequality, and the need for technological innovation. The government's goal is for the economy to grow by 5%, in 2025. This target, while modest compared to the double-digit growth of the past, is still ambitious given the current global economic climate. Achieving this goal will require careful planning and execution. The government is focusing on sectors like technology, renewable energy, and domestic consumption to drive this growth. These areas are seen as more sustainable and less vulnerable to external shocks. Even reaching this smaller goal will be difficult. The global economy is fraught with uncertainties from trade tensions to geopolitical conflicts. Domestically, China faces challenges like an aging population, rising labor costs, and the need to transition from an investment-driven economy to one that is more consumption-oriented. These are not easy tasks, and they require a delicate balance of policy measures. The government used to spend a lot of money to help the economy, pouring funds into massive infrastructure projects and state-owned enterprises. This approach helped to fuel the rapid growth of the past, but it also led to inefficiencies and mounting debt. Now, the government is rethinking its strategy, focusing more on quality over quantity, but now it's being more careful. The emphasis is on fiscal prudence and targeted investments. The government is keen to avoid the pitfalls of over-leveraging and is implementing measures to ensure that spending is more efficient and effective. This includes stricter oversight of local government finances and a greater focus on projects that offer long-term benefits. China's leaders know that too much debt can be dangerous. They are acutely aware of the risks associated with high levels of debt, both for the government and for private enterprises. The 2008 financial crisis and the more recent economic troubles in other countries have served as stark reminders of the dangers of excessive borrowing. As a result, there is a concerted effort to manage debt levels more carefully. They need to help the economy now, but they also need to make sure things are healthy in the future. This means striking a balance between short-term stimulus measures and long-term structural reforms. The government is investing in education, healthcare, and social security to build a more resilient economy. At the same time, it is encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship to drive future growth. This is a tough balancing act. The government has to weigh the immediate needs of the economy against the long-term goal of sustainable development. This requires a nuanced approach with policies that are flexible and adaptable to changing circumstances. It also means being prepared to make difficult decisions and trade-offs. Trade problems with the United States are also making things harder. The ongoing trade tensions have created an uncertain environment for businesses and investors. Tariffs and other trade barriers have disrupted supply chains and increased costs for both Chinese and American companies. This has added another layer of complexity to an already challenging economic landscape. Donald Trump is back as president, and that means tariffs and trade wars could happen again. His administration's policies have been unpredictable, and this uncertainty makes it difficult for businesses to plan for the future. The specter of renewed trade conflicts looms large, and it is something that both the Chinese government and businesses have to contend with. China is looking for ways to deal with this, like trading more with other countries. The government is actively seeking to diversify its trade relationships, forging new partnerships and strengthening existing ones. This includes initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to create new trade routes and economic ties across Asia, Europe, and Africa, and encouraging people in China to buy more things made in China. Boosting domestic consumption is seen as a key strategy for reducing reliance on exports and creating a more balanced economy. The government is implementing policies to increase disposable income and improve consumer confidence, hoping that this will drive demand for locally made products. Doing business in China is getting more complicated too. The regulatory environment is becoming more stringent, with new rules and regulations being introduced regularly. This is part of the government's effort to create a more transparent and fair business environment, but it also means that companies have to navigate a complex and often changing landscape. Companies from other countries used to be excited about selling things in China, attracted by the vast market and the potential for high returns. The allure of the Chinese market was hard to resist, and many international companies invested heavily in the country. But now they're more cautious. The combination of regulatory challenges, economic uncertainties, and geopolitical tensions has made many companies rethink their strategies. They are now more focused on risk management and are taking a more measured approach to their investments in China. They have to deal with lots of rules, especially about data security. The Chinese government has implemented strict data protection laws, and companies must ensure that they comply with these regulations. This includes measures to protect personal data, prevent cyber attacks, and ensure the integrity of their IT systems. And they have to think about political risks. The political landscape in China is complex, and companies must navigate issues like government relations, regulatory compliance, and potential changes in policy. This adds another layer of risk to doing business in the country, and companies must be prepared to adapt to these challenges. The world is changing a lot. We are witnessing a significant transformation in the global landscape, where power dynamics are no longer dominated by a single nation. This shift is creating a more complex and interconnected world, where multiple countries are rising to prominence and influencing global affairs in unprecedented ways. The United States used to be the only real superpower, but that's changing. For decades, the U.S. held a position of unparalleled influence, with its military bases spread across the globe and its economic policies shaping international markets. However, the emergence of new powers is challenging this status quo. Now, many countries are becoming more powerful, and that means alliances are shifting and countries have different ideas about how the world should work. Nations like China, India, and Russia are asserting their influence, leading to a more multipolar world. This shift is causing traditional alliances to be reevaluated and new partnerships to be formed, as countries navigate this evolving landscape. China is right in the middle of all this. As one of the fastest-growing economies and a major player on the global stage, China's actions and policies are closely watched by the rest of the world. Its Belt and Road Initiative, for example, is reshaping trade routes and economic relationships across continents. Its relationships with powerful countries like the United States, Russia, and the European Union are complicated. These relationships are characterized by a mix of cooperation and competition, as each country seeks to advance its own interests while managing the complexities of international diplomacy. Sometimes they work together and sometimes they compete. This duality is evident in various aspects, from joint military exercises to trade negotiations. The balance between collaboration and rivalry is delicate and constantly shifting. The relationship between China and the United States is the most important relationship in the world. This bilateral relationship has far-reaching implications for global stability and economic prosperity. The two countries are deeply intertwined through trade, investment, and cultural exchanges, making their interactions crucial for the international community. They still do a lot of business together, but they also see each other as rivals. The economic ties between the U.S. and China are substantial, with billions of dollars in trade flowing between them. Yet this economic interdependence is accompanied by strategic competition, as both nations vie for technological supremacy and geopolitical influence. They disagree about trade, technology, human rights, and which country should be in charge in Asia. These disagreements manifest in various forms, from trade wars and tariffs to debates over intellectual property and human rights issues. The question of regional dominance in Asia adds another layer of complexity to their relationship. It's very important that they find a way to get along and avoid a big fight. The stakes are high, as any significant conflict between these two powers could have devastating consequences for global peace and security. Diplomatic efforts and dialogue are essential to manage tensions and foster cooperation. China and Russia have become closer friends lately. This growing partnership is driven by shared interests and a mutual desire to counterbalance U.S. influence. Their collaboration spans various domains, including military, economic, and political spheres. They both want to challenge the United States, and they are working together more on economics and military things. Joint military exercises and economic agreements are just some examples of how China and Russia are strengthening their ties. This alliance is seen as a strategic move to present a united front against Western dominance. But even this friendship isn't perfect. Despite their cooperation, there are underlying tensions in areas of competition. Central Asia, for instance, is a region where both countries have strategic interests, leading to potential friction. They don't always trust each other, and they still compete in some ways. The relationship between China and Russia is complex, marked by both collaboration and competition. While they work together on many fronts, mutual suspicion and strategic rivalry persist, reflecting the intricate nature of international relations in a multipolar world. Countries are racing to be the best in technology. The United States and China are the main competitors in this very important race. Being the leader in things like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and biotechnology, is seen as very important for a strong economy, military, and national security. This race is happening everywhere. Both countries are spending a lot of money on research. They are fighting to control important technologies and resources. They also want to make the rules for these new technologies. This competition isn't just about money or military power, it's also about who gets to make the rules for the world. The rules for artificial intelligence, data, and cybersecurity are still being made. The countries that make these rules will have a lot of power. China looks strong to the rest of the world, but it has problems at home. The economy is still growing but not as fast as it used to. Some people are rich and many are still poor. Pollution is a big problem that can make people sick. The Chinese Communist Party, the group that runs China, knows about these problems. They want to make sure everyone stays calm and doesn't cause trouble. They control what people can see and say online and watch people closely. The government also knows it needs to fix the problems that make people unhappy. They are trying to help poor people, make healthcare better, and give more people a good education. But these things take time. The government has to balance keeping control with giving people what they want. This is a difficult thing to do.